All right, got my Kraken jersey on. Kraken Rangers involved in a trade. This will get us all caught up. Got my Locos hat on because the trade deadline can be a little Locos. Let's talk about it. New York Rangers get Alexander Wennberg, about a third line center. Realistically, 60 games played this year, 9 goals, 16 assists, 25 points. He is a +1. Not too bad. His career high in goals happened 4 years ago with the Florida Panthers. It was 17. His first, 3 or 4 seasons, he did pretty well. Was in that kind of 40 to 60 point range, and it's kind of fallen off since. Right, 38 points last year, 13 goals, and then the year before that, 37 points, 11 goals. I'm just reading this off. Minus 26 2 years ago, -7 last year with Seattle. But he's one of those players that can play in all scenarios, right? He can play defense, he can play offense. He's not overly like a physical guy. He's not going to punch you in the face. Does a lot of his offensive, does a lot of offense from the perimeter. He's not one of those guys that typically goes crashing to the net. You'd like to see a little more of that, but at the same time, he's fairly effective at what he does currently. He'll shoot, block shots. He'll do a little bit of everything, which is nice. He'll play some penalty kill minutes. He'll play some power play minutes if you need him to. He can play wing if you need him to. So versatile player. I think he'll slot in very nicely on that third line in with the New York Rangers. Might see some power play time, but might help their penalty kill. Probably on their second unit, I would think. We'll see, though. We'll see what happens. But I like what the Kraken got in exchange. This is a guy that might hit 32, 33 points this year out of an 82-game season. Kraken get a second-round pick from the Rangers for this upcoming draft. So it might be a later second-round pick. The Rangers, just like the Edmonton Oilers, have a good shot at making a playoff run and pushing for a Stanley Cup. We'll see. Obviously, the playoffs anything can happen in the playoffs, but nonetheless, second-round pick, not too bad. They also get a fourth-round pick. It's Dallas's fourth-round pick they get from New York Rangers, and that's for next year's draft, the 2025 NHL entry-level draft. There is a condition with that. I don't think it'll be met. It becomes a third-round pick if Niels Lundqvist has 55 points between this year and last year. Currently, he only has 31 points with 20 or so games left. I don't think he'll hit that 55 goal mark unless he just goes on an absolute heater, which would be a first of his career. So overall, getting a second and a fourth round pick for a guy who, again, slightly over 30 points, not overly, offensively productive, right? But a very versatile player. I think this is a player that can really help the Rangers, especially in the playoffs, make a little more of a push, have a little more depth, have a little more versatility in that bottom six, can match up against different lines a little better than they currently do. I think that's part of their issue on the road is some of these line matchups, right? But the Kraken, smart. They're not in the playoff hunt really at this point, slightly, but it's kind of a long shot to make the playoffs. So they're selling off and getting stuff in return. Second round picks, we see a lot of defensemen coming out of that second round. So we'll see. I like this trade overall. I think both teams do well. I do have to say, I do like what the Kraken did. Day one, I think they're the winner, but it also depends. Like, we'll see what the second and fourth round pick pan out to be. It could end up being both busts, or they could both end up being productive NHL players that both exceed 30 points a season or 40 points a season, right? So we don't know. We won't know. We won't know for several years. But on the surface, I love what Seattle did. So I wore the Kraken jersey. But overall, I like this trade for both teams. So we'll see. I appreciate you. I'm sure there'll be more to come. It's, we still got just like 44 hours or something until trade deadline's here. So we got time. Take care, right?